Bling, 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 bling. Hey, hi there. Welcome yet again to the veritable edge of Western civilization, Venice Beach, California. It is Moon Day, Monday. October 13th, 2014. This is show number 90. Yay! 90. Wow. That's magnificent. 3 months worth of yippee-yi-yo. So, today is, it's in the middle of the Mercury retrograde period. The moon just had full moon eclipse a couple of days ago, and certainly a time of change. Oh, yes. Yes. And we're what? What is this? This is the 13th, or about 23 days from the autumnal equinox. So what this means is that the sun at this moment is approximately 10 degrees below the celestial equator, moving into the southern hemisphere. And it moves pretty fast in the first 30 days after the equinox. It moves 12 degrees south of the celestial equator. And then the next 30 days it moves another 8 degrees south. And the next 30 days after that, it moves another 4 degrees south, and then we'll be at the December solstice, the sun standstill point. So yeah, big changes in the light, amount of what's called insolation, or the amount of light that reaches the Earth in the northern hemisphere at this time, and also some, because it's Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of inner communication going on, a lot of reassessment of the changes we need to make in our lives over the next several months, and while assessing how we did over the last 3 months since the last Mercury retrograde period. And so in that vein, over the weekend, it was Saturday. I'm set up here on the boardwalk, and I noticed this brother next to me is getting accosted by the police because he has frames. He has his photography in frames, and they give him this telling him he can't, they gave him a ticket for the ticket will probably be several $100s because he's selling frames of his work. And so a few minutes later, I'm standing here painting this piece here, and they come over and they say the same to me, that luckily they didn't give me a ticket because they'd already given them a couple of tickets for the same thing before. And I have to say, so they gave me a warning. They gave me a verbal warning that I couldn't sell frames of my paintings, of my prints. And their rationale is that, of course I looked at them like they'd lost their minds. The rationale was that you can't, was because the frames have a dual use. I'm like, a dual use? I said, yeah, you can take the image out and put another image in there. So if you were to, like, what do you call it? What is that stuff? Take a hot glue gun and glue in the image into the print, into the frame, then we don't have a problem with that. I looked at the man in the eye and I said, that this, what you're telling me is completely ludicrous, right? I've been selling framed prints out here since 2000. So what is that? That's 14 years. Which is, by the way, a Saturn cycle. It's where the sun, Saturn gets to be halfway around the sun from where it started. And so then what happens when you reach that Saturn point, which is really funny because
I got one more good run and I'm done.
Because it happened. I had a very similar, point of decision and reinvestment and reassessment and everything 7 years ago. 7 years, the 7-year cycle is a Saturn cycle, right? So how that works is, Saturn takes approximately 29.5 years to go around the sun, right? So when Saturn gets to be seven years, a quarter way around the sun from where it was when whatever cycle started, right? Then in this case, in 2000 I started doing this on the boardwalk like I am right now, and I'd done it before, but not like this, not on this scale. It was always before that. That was before prints, and that people would buy prints. And back then, I was actually trying to sell, little original pieces on paper, paintings on paper, and that didn't go too well. But it got me just enough gas money to get down the road at the time, which is all I needed. Yes, you're going to be okay. Really, really.
I'm going to meet you on the other side.
Really?
Yeah, these shoes are going to scratch my feet otherwise.
Yes, I'm laughing at you. This woman, there's like a 3 feet of sand between the boardwalk and the bike path, and she didn't want to push her bicycle across her because she was afraid she's going to get sand in her shoes. I'm like, obviously someone who has lost touch with her 5-year-old. So anyway, love and light, love and light. No judgment, no judgment. Release judgment, brother. Judgment is what do you call it? What is judgment? It's density. That's right. It's density. Okay. So how's it going, man? What was I yammering about? Something about oh yeah. So when Saturn gets to be 90 degrees from where it was when you were born, or in this case, 90 degrees from where it was when I started setting up on the boardwalk the way I am right now, and giving it my full attention instead of take the money and run and in and out of town, whatever. I just, something said, the universe said, now is the time to get the work out there. So, make that your main focus. So I started doing that in the fall of 2000. And so 7 years later, Saturn was 90 degrees from where it was when I started doing that down here, right? And that 90-degree angle is in astrology is called a square, right? It means a relationship of conflict or challenge, the challenge to grow, So I was challenged to grow, and around that time is when I started publishing. I started, publishing my books and stuff, and my movie, and my first movie, and thinking that was going to be, there was time for me to graduate from the boardwalk and everything like that, and then, I published, but at the same time, around that same time, just after in the 7th to 8th year, was when the boardwalk died. It went through this whole convulsion, and the economy died, and the economic bubble burst and everything, and it totally decimated the boardwalk for me and for a whole lot of other people. But I could make a living out here at that point, and I went basically hand to mouth even more, in that time. And then, what is it about? Where are we? I'm guessing it was 2011. It became possible for me to start doing this again. I think it was the fall of 2010. You know, it made it possible for me to do this, you know, to set up again. And so I started setting up. And so for the first time in, you know, 3 years, I could, you know, had some kind of income. If I worked out here at the time, you know, in a week, I know that I would at least have enough for food and gas, and to try to pay my storage fees and whatnot, you know. So, and you know, slowly, the economy got better and better, and you know, to the point where I didn't have to go hungry. You know, I knew that I was going to have enough to eat, and you know, I definitely would, you know, it may take me all month, but I would be able to pay my bills and stuff. And you know, meanwhile, I'm, you know, trying to do all these things to not have to necessarily do the boardwalk for depend on the boardwalk for my money and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so here we are. All right, 7 years go by from when I started this. It's 2014. Started in 2000. Saturn is halfway across the sun from where it was when I started, right? And that point is a point of, in astrology, is called the point of opposition, right? It can be conflict, right, like it was over here, or it can be conflict that leads to complement. So when things are in opposition, there's this thing, kind of like two people standing directly across from one another, right? Each one of them can see half the universe, right? And if they work together, they have a whole. But if they don't work together, then they can only see half the universe, and you know, them being in conflict makes it so that they can't, you know, their back isn't covered, you know. Whereas if they work together, each one of them can watch the other person's back by looking at them, you know. So there's this an opportunity for complementary energies, right? In the same way that, you know, a full moon energy, you know, where you have the sun on one side and the moon on the other. So you have all your bases covered, everything's in balance, you know. But so here I am at another one of those points, you know, like, hey, universe, what's it going to be? Am I going to keep doing the boardwalk? Am I going to do it like this? How am I going to do it? You know, so this weekend, these guys come along and they give me this bozo thing. And so, you know, my options are to whine and complain or whatever, or to see it as an opportunity to upgrade somehow, you know. Now, granted, it would be wonderful if I had more resources to make the transition, you know, let's say to selling giclées, you know, prints on canvas of the work. That would be probably the ideal, because I could sell a lot more of those. They sell really well out here. But you know, that's going to take some capital that I don't have right now, and my business hasn't generated at this time, right? So, and you know, it's to me that one of two things are the message: either the universe doesn't provide the resources because I'm not supposed to be here, I should be thinking of other things beyond this, or which one?
That one.
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 800. I always do the round parts of the Flower of Life. I always do that freehand.
My girlfriend's dad made this for me.
Oh, that's great. It was really nice of him. Good job. I actually saw somebody do this online with their kids.
I want to have a piece of drill. I want to start making I want to have like a bunch of say geometry designs and have them make it and start selling them like at festivals and stuff. you can get them really cheap. This is real silver. Just mark it up. Yeah, it's awesome. I wish I had $800 on me.
What did you say?
I said I wish I had $800 on me.
Yeah, me too. That'd be great.
Florida, I would.
There's smaller pieces around the corner. A lot cheaper. These started at 80. These are original as well. Yeah. The factory.
Now you're gonna get your hair caught in this dog.
2 floors. $5.
So stop by Venice before we fly out.
Where are you going?
Florida. I was doing a bunch of work up in Ojai Mountains. And I'm going back now for a while.
What kind of work?
Audiology. So I was helping people. I was like taking care of elders with their hearing, just like testing their hearing and see if they need hearing aids and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, serving the elderly. I buy one of these. You got a doobie to sell with it?
What?
A doobie to sell with it, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I didn't smoke pot.
You know what it is? There's this kind of where blue jeans shorts replaced with the car. It's sorts of kind of stuff. So I said, I way up.
Did you write this?
Everything.
Now we're the two biggest bags on the ocean front block.
Did you want to get that?
Yeah, I'm gonna get this. $5.
Yep.
Would you put in something?
You have something to put it in. It's a true story. Good luck to you. It's good work that you do.
Yeah, I'm getting involved. I'm gonna be taking my tests and stuff, so then I can finally be licensed and do it all. So I mean, everybody wants to hear, you know.
Are you a wrestler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. You know, sound is a beautiful thing. You know,
Yeah.
you can't hear. It can be tricky, especially when you can't communicate with people.
Yeah.
So.
Can you hear?
Yeah, actually, I have 10% hearing loss from this. Just being my eardrums and all fucked up from wrestling my whole life.
Right on.
But
Where did you wrestle?
I wrestled in California a little bit, and then I moved out to high school in Florida.
Right.
And then a little bit in college, and I was just so burnt out. Just
Yeah.
towards my body.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'm just
Be a person.
Yeah.
Good man. Take care, brother. You know, that's Venice. You know, he asked if he came over. I don't know what you heard. He asked about the Flower of Life, getting the painting and everything like that. And you ended up getting a little print that wasn't the Flower of Life. It was a story that I wrote about something amazing that happened down by the Venice Pier a number of years ago. But he said, he asked me, because I'll get the print if you have a doobie to sell with it. I'm like, brother, I don't smoke pot, you know? It's crazy. But then, you know, I don't know what you heard, but I asked him what he was doing, and he's an audiologist. You know, he was up in Ojai helping to test elderly people for sound, you know, to see if they need hearing aids and stuff like that. And he was a wrestler, and he's got cauliflower ears, you know, and pretty severely actually. and 10% hearing loss and everything. So, you know, it's really interesting how it all works out. You know, it's like where do you put that? You know, I mean, that's just everybody's got a story. Crazy. So I was blabbering about something. So I can look at it as it's time for an upgrade or it's time to move on. Not sure what the move on would look like at this point because I've tried every avenue that I can think of. You know, I had a licensing agent that didn't work out. I had, you know, tried to do the exhibition route, and you know that's a slow slog. Put on shows. I don't know, but anyway, bottom line is I took all the frames off from display, and now I've got to think of another way of presenting them. And what's really funny is up until that happened, so check this out. Up until that happened, I had like several days of not making any money at all. Right? That happens. I take all the stuff down. I take all the frame stuff down, and that day that yesterday it was, I took all the stuff down. Best day of the week. You know, I took all the frame stuff, and people bought the frame stuff because they saw the stuff on the side. Like, what's that? You know, and they walk over and I sold 2 frames yesterday. Hadn't sold any frames all week. You know, like it's so weird. And I went swimming yesterday. The ocean is still warm, but it's kind of treacherous. It's very. They've had more. I was listening to the radio about an hour ago, and they were talking about how in Orange County they've had more lifeguard response requirements in this year than they have ever, and especially in the past month, because there's something about the way the water is here that's just. Right now, it's just very unpredictable. Very unpredictable. So anyway, Saturn opposing. I hadn't even thought of that until I started talking about it right here a moment ago. I hadn't thought this is the 14-year thing. It's that 14-year thing. It's ante-up time. Do you want to stay and keep doing what you're doing, or are you ready to move on? That's the big question. And I love this place. I just don't know what move on looks like or where that would be, or you know. It may not necessarily be the place. It might be what I'm doing in the place, you know, or how I'm doing it. And what I'm getting is that, you know, I can't just go on the way I have, you know. That's pretty obvious. So, so it's kind of exciting to, you know, everything's going to be new. It's all new. So, and here we are at the 90th show. 90 shows, 10 shows. We've reached 100. That's amazing. Okay, so this is the painting that we completed the other day. And yeah, that's that. Geez, what do we have? We have 55%. Sure, we can get. Gonna have to start packing up pretty soon. But I'll start this painting. I have a painting in mind. need to photograph this again before I take it off. There's this thing that's become pretty clear over the past month since they started enforcing their new version of the ordinance. And I've seen them do stuff that the police do stuff that's just freaking loopy. You know, it's like, have you lost your mind? You know, have you just because somebody told you to you know, do something, does that mean that you can't do it with like intelligence, you know, some consciousness of what you're doing, the effect what you're doing may have on not only the people that you're, you know, supposedly policing, but you know, the whole idea of community policing is that you're supposed to be conducting yourself in a way that makes it so that the community feels supported, and when the community feels supported, then they'll support you, right? Conversely, if you do stuff, if you conduct yourself in such a way that, you know, very unthinkingly, very with no compassion and all that kind of stuff, then, you know, and you're in a position of authority. When people see that authority is being abused, then, or the, you know, the law is not being applied correctly or intentionally, you know, when they see that authority is being used in a way that where it's just to be mean, you know, or it's being selectively enforced on certain people because of on anybody for anything, you know. But here often you know, there's a race element, and when people see that go down, then they're not only are they not behind the, you know, police enforcement or the enforcement of authority and the law, they see the law as an impediment, you know, as something to be dealt with. Never mind, they don't see the police as part of the solution. They see them as part of the problem, you know, and that can't be good when, you know, something happens where you know, you know, the community needs to call upon them to act responsibly when you see them acting irresponsibly, you know. And it makes it doubly bad when the people that are developing the policy and in charge of implementing a specific legal policy interpret that policy in ways that are just friggin' loopy, right? That put those that have to actually, you know, walk the beat and express, you know, carry out that policy at risk of doing what those cops did, you know. I mean, the guy, you could tell he was just apologetic. He said the city attorney interpreted it this way, you know. So he's in a position where he has to enforce some bozo in an office downtown that is like, why are you, it's not even in the ordinance, why are you choosing to split a hair, you know, having, obviously that's going to have an impact on a whole lot of people's lives, so why are you saying that, you know? That the people can sell prints, it says you can sell prints, but it doesn't say anywhere that you can't sell a frame in a print, you know? It's only because, you know, somebody in an office downtown decided that, and so it's just the thing is, if that was the only thing that was wrong, you know, if that was the only problem with their enforcement of the ordinance, you know, like when I saw this a couple weeks ago, I set up next to this guy that has an umbrella, right? And the ordinance says that you're not supposed to have an umbrella on its side because it blocks people's view of the beach, right? So the guy, he has his umbrella tilted like, you know, tilted like that, right? And it's tied to his chair, right? And the cop tells him that he has to have the umbrella up like this. You know, it's like, why are you bothering that? It wasn't on the ground. You could see under the umbrella. You know, it's just tied to the friggin' chair because it was windy. You know, it's just little. When you see, you know, it's like behind the implicit threat is that if I catch you with that umbrella like that again, I'm going to write you a ticket that's going to, you know, cause you to have to deal with the legal system. So the criminalization of a person because their friggin' umbrella is tilted over, I mean, don't we have some crime to deal with somewhere, you know? Aren't there like some bicycle thieves or, you know, some crack addicts or something you can go bother instead of like, you know? And meanwhile, while all this is happening, there are people selling stuff on the boardwalk that came from downtown, you know? Still, it's just, there's, you know, when you see people, you know, cops taking time to bother people about oh, this I should probably just stop right here and stop talking about this because it just drives me, it gets me going. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna just move on. All right. What do we got? We got 47%. Probably got about another 10 minutes before I have to start packing up. So let's just move on. Love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. You know? Yes. You know, there's that thing about, I know that I'm paranoid, but that doesn't mean they're not after me. Well, this is that kind of situation. The other day, I went over to talk to this other artist to see how they use this lacquer technique to, instead of using frames, they lacquer they take a board, they take a print and they glue the print onto the board, and then they lacquer the front of it, and the whole board and everything. And you know, it's a solution. I'm not sure. I'm gonna experiment with it. But anyway, I went over to ask him about, you know, where he gets his supplies, what kind of materials is he using, you know, what kind of lacquer does he recommend, that kind of thing. And I told him why, you know, that, you know, the police had just told me that it was illegal to sell frames out here anymore. And he said, He said, "Oh, I got one for you." I know I said I was going to stop, but it's just, I think it helps explain why I'm a little paranoid about, you know, what time is the sun and when I got to pack up and all that sort of stuff, because they've started to bother people for not being out of not being packed up and out of their space by sunset, right? So these two artists had, you know, they both packed up, their stuff was all packed up, and one of them was watching the stuff, so while the other guy went to get his card, right, to load it up. And the police came and gave the guy that was waiting a ticket because they said that it looked like, the way you have your stuff packed up, it looks like you could sell off of your cart. That's going to be an over $200 ticket. You know, some of these folks, I mean, last week I didn't even make $100, you know? And the week before that, in 2 weeks, I didn't make $200, for Christ's sake. So, yeah. So then instead of the sunset being a wonderful thing, it's a beautiful place and all this kind of stuff, it's like, oh no, it's the sunset, I gotta, you know. And the thing is that people here, the best time to sell art is around the sunset, because people are leaving the beach, they didn't want to carry it, and on their way out, they're on the way back to their car, they're ready, they're more willing to transact. But now that whole thing is over, and what's interesting is that now the boardwalk, it's cool that there's a lot of space on the boardwalk, but maybe a little too much space. Like, a lot of people have just stopped coming altogether to set up, and at some point they may begin to realize that they're once again killing the goose that laid the golden egg. Because if they start criminalizing people for packing up or not packing up fast enough, what the fuck is that? It's just, okay, I'm gonna stop now. That's it. I'm not gonna say anything else about it. It's a beautiful day. Look at how warm it is. Shall we take a look? Yes, because we're not gonna get a whole lot done on this painting before I have to pack up. Shut up, David. All right, here we go. See, isn't that beautiful? Look at the mountains. It's just so wonderful. Minus the garbage can. Can't see the garbage can. There we go. That's much better. See? Beach, boardwalk. Way cool. I'll just see something like that. Isn't it beautiful? Hey, look over here. So beautiful. Yes, 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 yes. Anyway, thanks for listening to my venting. Excuse me. I know I'm paranoid, but that doesn't mean they're not out to get me. That's it. Yep. So, if I were to stop doing the boardwalk, what else would I be doing? That is the question.
Oh yeah, I know you, man. You were down at the store today. Right on the old store. You did a,
Yep.
yeah, how's it going, man?
Life is good.
Yeah, you can work.
Beautiful day, huh?
What?
It's a beautiful day, huh?
Very good. Hey.
All right, that would be not good. Okay. Hey man, how's it going? Colors. I like that canvas. They call that a strong start. Got a strong start. So next time, less talking, more painting. Maybe. Maybe. Depends what we're talking about, right? Okay. Well, the sun is where it needs to be in order for me to back up. So I'm going to start doing that. And 6:01. 6:01. I wonder where I'll be in a month or 3 months or 6 months if I'm still going to be here doing this. I wonder that. I'm open. If anybody has any wonderful suggestions, viable, real, genuine suggestions, that would be really great. So, I sure do love it here, though. It's so beautiful. Anyway, this is what we got so far.
Wow.
Minus. Look at that. Look at that. Look. A little rainbow for you. Okay. So, anyway. Alrighty then. Remember, we love you.